Here we are on Whitehaven Road, Park Lane, I forgot what it's called, off Massachusetts Avenue in Embassy Row. This is the Center for Linux Studies. I've actually been to a lecture here. It doesn't have anything to do with Greece specifically, which you'd think it might since it's on Embassy Row. It is in fact a, oh God, what is that thing for writers called that begins with a Q? I've forgotten. Anyway, it's a center where you get put up for a semester or a year to write a book if you are a classical philosopher or classical philologist or something like that who studies Greek philosophy or Greek languages. And this is Whitehaven Boulevard. And what's fun about Whitehaven Boulevard is that one of these houses belongs to Hilary Clinton. She and Bill bought it immediately after he left office. There seems to be a leaf blower on the street, which I always wonder if they're actually the Secret Service just disguised as leaf blowers. It's this chick here. She's kind of European for a leaf blower in DC. Anyway, it's probably this house. It's one of these. It might be the one that dead ends. The fascinating thing about this block, I've looked it up before, it's a public record. I mean, if you keep looking, you'll hit the name Clinton, William Jefferson Clinton Trust or something, you'll know it's his. It backs up to the Vice President's compound and observatory circle. So basically she and Biden share a backyard. And whoever would have been elected, if she'd been president, her backyard would have backed up to her vice president and she could have just like hectored them across the fence and bossed them around. Anyway, besides being near the Naval Observatory, it also is this dead-end street. I was really expecting someone to ask me why the fuck I was walking down it, or also at the point where I whipped out the iPad to tell me I couldn't, but maybe they know that would create an incident. Maybe. I think when they bought it, it was worth, oh, there's a car, kind of silent over the leaf blower. I think when they bought it, it was worth around $3 million. They used two real estate agents. One is Sandy Berger's wife. She's a lovely woman. Sandy Berger, the guy who stole some documents from the Library of Congress or whatever to try to make it look like Clinton had not been as dumb as he'd been when he was president. And there are other real estate agents, so she had two buyer agents working together. There's this woman who, I can't think of her name now. She's a perfectly lovely enough woman. She used to basically be Teddy Kennedy's secretary. Somehow she survived that and didn't drown, and she ended up being the real estate agent who sells all the fancy properties of Democrats in D.C. She's a giant woman. She looks like Leni Kazan. Now, this is an embassy, clearly a European Union embassy, probably Northern European from the flags. There's the back of the Hellenic Center up on the hill behind the fence. Here's a cute house that might just be a private house. I don't think it's Hilary's, though. I think hers was one of the ones down there. As I said, I've looked the dress up before. I just don't remember it offhand. I think it's probably the really whopping giant one, the second one. Not the one against the woods, but the next one down. And then at the end of the street, we have two embassies. I think this big white thing is somehow part of Italy. But they do sometimes buy and sell each other's embassies. Here's another private home. Kind of modest for this block. And here's a house that I'm fascinated with because it's all boarded up and has signs taped on it telling you it's in foreclosure or whatever. I think that just means that the embassy behind it has bought it, but somehow hasn't really gutted it out and done anything with it yet. This big glass cube embassy is one of 3 B embassies in a row. One is Great Britain. It's also Brazil and Bolivia. I think that's Brazil. But we're only 4 minutes into this tape, so might actually make it to the front so we can see. So that's Whitehaven. There's somebody parked in a black vehicle. Maybe they're the Secret Service, although they don't have government plates. Here's what I think is Bolivia again, a lovely lawn, and that's Massachusetts Avenue and Embassy Row over there. Some bearded personage, probably a Hilary staffer. For those of you who know your flags better, there's a flag there that's red, white, and I can't tell if that's blue or green. But for some reason from past excursions up this area, I think that that is Italy, but I could be wrong, or it's part of Italy or it belongs to Italy. It doesn't have a lot of identifying marks on it today, though. Here's somebody's backyard. Here I can see, so you might as well be able to too. I think it's I don't know, I think that has to be an embassy too. I don't think there really are very few private homes in this stretch of like I'd love to just walk from here over to Massachusetts Avenue, and the signs do say private property, no trespassing, although somebody's put them down. So I guess they want to actually walk around their traffic circle or their semicircle, their semicircular driveway rather, since they have those signs, although they're not really fully up. I don't know if a sign counts if it's flaccid. Oh, here we can find out if this is in fact Italy, or exactly who it is. Yeah, it's Italy. The white kind of modern-y building we were looking at. Which doesn't strike me as really Italian, but Italian modernist. It's funny when there are people who are standing around who don't appear to be doing anything. Also like the leaf blower woman. And they really don't look like they're in good enough shape to be Secret Service agents, but who knows? Maybe they're all armed to the teeth, and if you come near Hilary's house, they detain you. Oh, this is the Brazilian. Oh, it's the Brazilian embassy residence. That's why it's all private property, because this is where the ambassador actually lives for Brazil. It's quite nice. That would be definitely like way over $5 million. Maybe like 8 or 9 in DC. I'm not sure. Here you can see the hoi polloi and the scum of the earth are all allowed to just take the bus right past these people's houses, because they have to get their cleaners and cooks there somehow. The neighborhood down that way is, we're now north of Kalorama. It's called Massachusetts Avenue Heights. And it actually is probably one of the pieces of most expensive real estate in DC. I'm always amused when people who aren't really from DC start talking about Georgetown and their friend in Georgetown and the expensive real estate in Georgetown and blah-de-blah-de-blah-de. Because Georgetown is actually relatively teeny row houses. And although it's very expensive compared to many other parts of DC and to the world in general, really, really rich people who buy like $5 and $10 million houses don't live in Georgetown. They live in Massachusetts Heights and Kent and Berkeley and maybe Foxhall and other places that your average tourist has never been to and has not heard of, unlike Georgetown. Anyway, right across the street you'll see a white building that has kind of ornate lacy window coverings. They're not lace, I mean they're metallic. That, and you see it has a dome behind it, that used to be part of Iran's embassy. And under Carter, when we had the whole helicopter hostage deal, the State Department seized that and another building. I don't know if it ever gave them back, and they became what's called the State Department Annex. So the big glass building that I was showing you the back of when we were over at Hilary's house was in fact the Brazilian embassy. It's a giant black glass cube suspended on this smaller glass platform, and that's the Brazilian embassy beside the Brazilian ambassador's residence. And across the street, through the leaves, I'm hoping I'll get through the leaves myself so you'll get one clear shot of it, is what used to be part of Iran, and now it's